Hey gardening friends, ready to grow healthier plants, bigger harvests, and smarter gardens? Let's get started.
What if I told you there is a root vegetable growing right now in backyard gardens across America that tastes like candy, crunches like a fresh apple, feeds your gut like a probiotic, and practically grows itself with almost zero effort on your part? And what if I told you that almost nobody knows about it? Welcome back to The Smart Gardener, the channel for people who want to grow more with less. If you have not subscribed yet, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so you never miss videos like this one. Today I want to tell you about a plant I once stuck in a forgotten corner of my yard, never watered it once beyond the rain, never fed it, never thought about it again. And when fall came around and I finally walked back to that corner, what I found there completely changed the way I think about home gardening. That plant is called yacon. And by the end of this video, I am pretty sure you are going to want to grow it too. So let me start with the basics, because if you have never heard of yacon before, you are not alone. The scientific name is Smolanthus sancifolius, and it belongs to the same plant family as sunflowers and Jerusalem artichokes. It comes from the Andes Mountains of Peru and Bolivia, where it has been eaten for centuries at elevations between roughly 3,000 and nearly 10,000 feet above sea level. In its native climate, the days are sunny, the nights are cool, and the soil is not particularly rich. Sound familiar? That is exactly why it adapts so well to so many American backyards. Now here is something I wish someone had told me before my very first harvest, because I made a mistake that almost made me give up on this plant entirely. When you dig up a yacon plant, you are going to find two very different types of roots, and knowing the difference is absolutely critical. The first type is the rhizome. These are the smaller, knobby, compact pieces attached right at the base of the stem. They look a little bit like ginger. These are not for eating. I repeat, do not eat these. They are tough, fibrous, and honestly, they taste terrible. The second type is what you are actually after. These are the storage roots, the large, smooth tubers that hang down below the rhizomes, sometimes growing as big as a sweet potato. These are the ones with that incredible sweet, juicy, crunchy flavor that makes yacon so special. My first year, I pulled everything out, washed it all, bit into one of those knobby rhizomes, and I nearly threw the whole harvest in the compost pile. It was only after watching an experienced farmer explain the difference that everything clicked. So remember, knobby pieces at the top equals planting material. Big, smooth roots hanging below equals your reward. Now let me tell you about the part that truly surprised me, and honestly, it is the reason I keep coming back to yacon every single year. The flavor. When you bite into a fresh yacon root for the first time, it is unlike anything you have tasted from a garden before. Imagine the crunch of a water chestnut, the juicy sweetness of a ripe apple, and just a whisper of honeydew melon all at once. It is refreshing, it is light, and it feels almost too good to be true. But here is what makes yacon genuinely different from every other sweet root out there. That sweetness does not come from regular sugar. It comes from compounds called fructooligosaccharides, or FOS for short. Now stay with me here, because this is where it gets really interesting. FOS is a type of soluble fiber that your body cannot digest the same way it digests normal sugar. Instead of being broken down in your stomach, it travels all the way to your large intestine, where it feeds the beneficial bacteria your gut depends on, specifically lactobacilli and bifidobacteria. In other words, yacon acts as a powerful natural prebiotic, and according to research, it contains the highest concentration of FOS found in any food in nature, surpassing garlic, onions, and asparagus combined. The benefits go beyond just digestion. Studies have shown that regular FOS consumption can support immune function, reduce the risk of constipation and irritable bowel symptoms, and may have a positive effect on blood glucose metabolism, which is particularly meaningful for people paying close attention to their sugar intake. And here is a number that will stop you in your tracks. A 7-ounce portion of fresh yacon contains only around 60 calories, while the same amount of sweet potato delivers significantly more. So you get something that tastes wonderfully sweet, fills you up, and still feels remarkably light. The only word for that is cheating, in the best possible way. One practical note before we move on. If yacon is new to your diet, start with a small amount. around 1.5 to 2 ounces. Because FOS is so concentrated, eating too much too fast can cause some bloating or gas while your gut adjusts. Trust me, I learned that lesson the hard way on my very first harvest night. Alright, now let us talk about the part that I think matters most to every home gardener watching this, and that is how to actually grow yacon successfully right here in the United States. Because the good news is, if you already grow tomatoes, peppers, or squash, you can absolutely grow yacon. And in many ways, it is easier than all of them. First, let us talk about where you live. Yacon grows well across a wide range of climates, from USDA hardiness zone 5 all the way through zone 11. That covers most of the continental United States, including California, Texas, Florida, Louisiana, and the Carolinas. If you are in a warmer zone, you have the easiest path. Just plant in spring and let the season do the work. If you are in a cooler zone, say zone 5, 6, or 7, the key is to get a head start by sprouting your rhizomes indoors in early spring. Yacon needs between 6 and 8 months to reach full maturity, so giving it that early boost makes all the difference. As for timing, here is the simplest rule I know. Plant yacon at the same time you plant your tomatoes. That means when nighttime temperatures are consistently above 50 degrees Fahrenheit and there is absolutely no more frost in the forecast. Now let us talk about the soil, because this is where a lot of first-time growers make a mistake. Yacon prefers well-draining soil with a pH between 6.0 and 7.0. Before planting, work in a generous amount of aged compost or well-rotted organic matter. But here is an important detail that most guides leave out. Do not go overboard with nitrogen-heavy fertilizers. Too much nitrogen pushes the plant to produce a lot of beautiful leafy growth up top, but it actually reduces the size and number of edible roots underground. Balance is everything here. If your soil is heavy clay, mix in some sand or perlite to improve drainage. Yacon roots will rot in soggy, waterlogged conditions, so good drainage is non-negotiable. When it comes to planting, dig a hole about 12 inches deep. Place your rhizome with the buds or eyes facing upward, and cover it gently with loose soil. Space your plants at least 3 to 4 feet apart. Remember, these plants can reach 6 to 7 feet tall, so they need room to breathe and spread. One technique I strongly recommend, and this is something that separates experienced gardeners from beginners, is to lay down a thick layer of straw mulch around the base of each plant right after planting. Mulch keeps the soil moist, suppresses weeds, regulates soil temperature, and when harvest time comes, it makes digging up those fragile roots significantly easier. For watering, water deeply twice a week through spring and summer. If you are gardening in a region where temperatures regularly climb above 85 degrees Fahrenheit, consider giving your yacon some afternoon shade to prevent the leaves from scorching. For fertilizing, apply a balanced organic fertilizer, rich in potassium and phosphorus, every 4 to 6 weeks throughout the growing season, to support strong root development. Now, here is a tip that I think is genuinely underrated in the American gardening community. In the early weeks after planting, while yacon is still small and its canopy has not yet filled in, use that open ground between plants. Tuck in some quick-growing companions like salad greens, radishes, or peas. They will be harvested long before yacon needs the space. And around the edges of your yacon bed, consider planting marigolds. They are a natural pest deterrent, and they look beautiful doing it. Speaking of pests, here is the honest truth about yacon. I have grown this plant for years, and I have never had to spray a single thing on it. Aphids occasionally show up on the young leaves at the start of the season, but in my experience, they always disappear on their own as natural predators move in. No chemicals, no organic sprays, nothing. Yacon simply does not attract the kind of pest pressure that makes tomatoes or squash such a challenge. And finally, if you are working with limited space or you have challenging soil, here is an option that works surprisingly well. Grow yacon in containers. You will need a large one, at minimum a 20-gallon pot or a half-barrel planter. The real advantage of container growing comes at harvest time. Because yacon roots are brittle and can snap when dug from compacted ground, harvesting from a container lets you gently tip the whole plant out without damaging a single root. It is one of those small adjustments that makes a big difference in your final yield. So when does all this hard work pay off? After 6 to 8 months in the ground, you will notice the leaves starting to yellow and die back on their own. Do not panic. That is not a problem. That is yacon, telling you it is done growing up and has started sending every last bit of energy down into those roots. That is your harvest signal. When that moment comes, resist the temptation to grab a shovel. Use a digging fork instead, working slowly around the outside of the plant and loosening the soil before you lift. Yacon roots bruise and snap easily, and a little patience here will save you a lot of heartbreak. Once you have lifted the plant, you will see two distinct things: the knobby rhizomes attached at the crown and the large, smooth storage roots hanging below. Set the rhizomes aside for replanting next spring. Those beautiful roots are your reward. Now here is a step that most gardeners skip, and it genuinely makes a difference. Do not wash your roots right away, and do not bring them straight into the kitchen. Lay them out in a sunny spot, or a well-ventilated area, for anywhere from 2 days up to 2 weeks. During that curing time, the natural compounds inside the root convert, and the flavor becomes noticeably sweeter and more complex. It is a simple step that costs you nothing except a little patience, and the payoff is absolutely worth it. When you are ready to store them, keep them unwashed, with a little soil still clinging to the skin. Place them in a perforated bag or an open wooden crate in a cool, dark location, where temperatures stay between 50 and 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Stored this way, they will last 2 to 3 months without any problem. And here is something I learned the hard way in my first year. Never put yacon in the refrigerator. The cold breaks down the texture completely and turns that beautiful crisp root into something soft and unpleasant. A basement, a garage shelf, or a cool pantry is exactly what you want. For the rhizomes you are saving for next spring, pack them loosely in slightly damp sawdust or peat moss and keep them somewhere cool but frost-free. Check on them once a month and you will have healthy planting material ready to go when the soil warms up again. Now let us talk about eating, because this is honestly one of my favorite parts of the whole yacon experience. The simplest and best way to enjoy yacon is raw. Peel it, slice it into sticks or thin rounds, and drop it immediately into a bowl of cold water with a squeeze of lemon juice. Just like an apple, yacon oxidizes quickly once cut, so that lemon water keeps it bright and fresh. Serve it on a crudité platter, toss it in a salad, or just eat it as a snack straight from the bowl. My go-to American-style preparation is a simple salad with shredded yacon, kale, fresh orange segments, mint leaves, and toasted pumpkin seeds, with a light citrus vinaigrette. It is refreshing, it is colorful, and every single person who has tried it at my table has asked for the recipe. If you want something warm, try slicing yacon thin, tossing it with a drizzle of olive oil and a pinch of sea salt, and baking it at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 15 minutes. You end up with these lightly sweet, crispy chips that are genuinely addictive and about as clean a snack as you can make. For smoothies, blend a cup of peeled yacon with 1 banana, a handful of spinach, and a cup of unsweetened almond milk. It adds a natural sweetness without any added sugar, and your gut will thank you for it. And if you come across yacon syrup at a health food store, try it as a substitute for honey in your morning oatmeal or in salad dressings. Just keep the heat below 250 degrees Fahrenheit when cooking with it to preserve those beneficial compounds we talked about earlier. Now, if you are ready to get started and you are wondering where to find yacon rhizomes, the good news is they are more accessible than ever. Specialty nurseries focused on Andean and rare edible plants, particularly those based in the Pacific Northwest, ship rhizomes to all 50 states. You can also find individual sellers on craft and garden marketplaces online who ship small quantities of sprouted rhizomes packed in damp sphagnum moss to protect them during transit. One important tip: do not order rhizomes if your area is currently experiencing freezing temperatures. These plants have zero frost tolerance, and a cold mailbox overnight can damage or kill the rhizomes before they ever reach your garden. And when your harvest finally comes in, do yourself a favor. Save more rhizomes than you think you need. Your first instinct will be to keep just a few. Resist it. Save extras, and then give some away. Hand them to a neighbor, bring them to a friend. Share them with someone at your local community garden. That is how a plant like yacon spreads, one backyard at a time. And honestly, there is something deeply satisfying about passing along a plant that most people have never seen before, and watching their face when they taste it for the first time. Yacon deserves a place in American gardens. It is productive, it is resilient, it is genuinely good for you, and it offers a flavor experience that nothing else in the garden quite matches. If you have a spare corner, a forgotten raised bed, or even a big container on your patio, give yacon a chance this season. I promise you will not regret it. If you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more gardeners just like you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever grown yacon, or is this the first time you are hearing about it? I read every single comment, and I would love to hear from you. And if you have not subscribed to The Smart Gardener yet, now is the perfect time. We post new videos every week, covering underrated plants, practical growing techniques, and everything you need to get more out of your garden with less effort. We will see you in the next one.